job searching when you are working, when you are employed, is the time to job search because there is a lot less pressure on you. It is a lot easier to spread the the input a little bit more than you would have if you're not working full time, let's say after a layoff. So I just want to encourage you to not wait until a big shoe drops when you have to do it, but do it because you want to do it. Welcome back to the Career Dive podcast. Today, we're going to talk about how to calendar and plan your time when you're job searching and working full time. Now, before we do, can I just ask you for a quick favor? There are thousands of you listening to the podcast. So I would really, really appreciate if you could pause this recording right now, this podcast right now, and leave me a quick review, whether you're listening on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. That would really help me out. Okay, got it. All right, now let's dive into the episode. So, the reason I wanted to record this episode is because this is something that comes up with our clients. And this is actually something that we, from the very first minutes that they enroll, something that we plan together exactly when and how they're going to be dedicating time to job search. But it's also something that I hear a lot when I talk to you guys. And I hear often that, hey, I'm working full time, I have a family, I have young kids. I just don't know if I have the time to dedicate to job search. And we'll dive into exactly how to do that in this episode. But if that's you, what I want for you to think about is that job searching when you are working, when you are employed, is the time to job search in an ideal world because there is a lot less pressure on you. It is a lot easier to, spread the input a little bit more than you would have if you're not working full time, let's say after a layoff. So I just want to encourage you to not wait until a big shoe drops, not wait for a layoff when you have to do it, but do it because you want to do it. And that's actually something that I want for you to remind yourself. If you're working full time and you need to find time to dedicate to job search, keep reminding yourself that I don't need to do this. It's not that I should do this. I don't have to do this. I want to do this, right? There is a reason you want a different role, a different job, right? So keep reminding yourself of that desire and where that's coming from. Now let's dive into the episode. First, I want to talk about what doesn't work, and you probably already know it. So, job searching when you feel like it. So, maybe this week work feels good and your boss is away on vacation, and maybe your toxic boss is one of the big reasons you want to make a move. Maybe it's a slower season at work and it's nicer weather outside. So, you're feeling good today at work or this week at work, and you just feel like, you know what, maybe it's not so bad. So you don't feel like job searching. Or maybe it's the other way around where you are having a really busy week full of activities with your family and work is busy and you just don't feel like job searching. Or only job searching when you have a few moments here and there. So maybe that looks like you're commuting to work and that's when you open LinkedIn and you scroll through open jobs and click on easy apply here and there. Or maybe you're doing that during lunch at work. So here and there is not a strategy. You very much need a plan and you need to dedicate time on your calendar very intentionally to job search. So, first and foremost, if your goal is a new role in the next 3 to 6 months, you want to make sure that you don't just job search when you feel like it, but rather you have planned your calendar ahead of time and you know when exactly you will be job searching and what you will be spending that time on. And that leads me to my second point here. And that is that you need to have a plan with very specific goals. So I started this episode by telling you that that's something that we create with our clients during the kickoff meeting when we first meet, when they first join the Start Canada program. We start with a very concrete plan for them on exactly what they will be working on week 1, week 2, week 3, etc. with very specific goals and milestones that they want to be achieving. You need to do the same for yourself, because if you're listening to this podcast, your goal is what? A multi six figure role? Those kind of offers, those kind of roles don't happen by accident. They don't happen by fluke when you felt like job searching here and there. They do require very intentional, strategic investment of your time and energy over time. Simultaneously, your goals need to be very concrete. Apply for a few roles this month is not a concrete goal. But if you say, hey, this month I want to meet with 5 senior leaders at my target company A, see, that's a very specific goal that you can now work towards, and you can work backwards so you can break down exactly what you will be working on every single week to make that happen. Next, you need to look at your calendar, at your schedule, and you need to find where realistically you will be dedicating time to job search. And if the answer is, well, after work, when I have time and when I have energy, I'll do it during the week after work, and maybe, on Saturday if I have time and I don't have plans. Once again, that's not a plan, right? If you've been listening to the podcast, I talk often about how you need to think and act like the person in that role that you want, right? In that senior multi six figure role. So if a person in that role is working towards a goal, they're creating a plan with very specific goals, and then they're mapping out that plan on the calendar. So you need to do the same for yourself. You need to be showing up in your life, in your career, in your job search, like that professional that you are and that you aspire to be. So you want to look at your calendar and be very brutally honest with yourself. Because if you know what, realistically, when I get home from work, I'm actually exhausted most of the time. And by the time I have dinner, by the time the kids are in bed, all I want is to go to sleep or binge Netflix. And if you're telling yourself, you know what? No, I'm not going to be binging Netflix anymore. I am instead going to be job searching. But again, realistically, how much energy do you still have left by that time of the day? And the answer might be, yes, I still have all the energy. I'm good to go. But for most people, that's not realistic. And for most people, actually, with most of my clients, what we do is they start their day, their work day earlier. And that can be every single day, Monday to Friday. For some people, they choose 3 times maybe a week when they start their work day an hour earlier, whether that's them working from home, whether it's them going into the office an hour earlier. But they know it's now on their calendar, that time is blocked off. And they know that they start their day by doing something for themselves, for their goals, for their career, before they do something for the employer. So they prioritize themselves first. And then maybe it can also look like you blocking that time off every single Sunday or every single Saturday as well. So now you have 3 hours dedicated already on your calendar during the week before you start your workday. And then you have, let's say, 3 hours dedicated to it during the weekend. But it has to be blocked off on your calendar and committed. And when you're making plans, when life happens, that time is there and it's not negotiable. The same way, a work deadline, a work meeting wouldn't be negotiable. You would still make it happen. You would still make sure that you're there, that it is moving forward. So you need to do the same for yourself. So really be brutally honest with your calendar, brutally honest with your schedule, with your energy levels. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, I'm not a morning person, I actually still have energy at nighttime, I'd rather do this at nighttime, that's totally fine. Work with your energy. But I need for you to be really, really honest with yourself where and when you can actually do it. And what I offer my clients is that put it on your calendar and make it a recurring meeting with yourself so that your body, your brain starts getting used to the fact that Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, we wake up an hour earlier, and that's the morning dedicated to job search. And you don't think about it. You don't have to remember to put it on your calendar. It's already there. So now, no matter what happens, there is that time dedicated to next steps every single week. All right. Now that you have a plan, now that you have dedicated time to job search, before you actually show up to work an hour earlier, or before you start your Saturday morning job search session and you know that, okay, my kids are out of the house and I have 3 hours here, you need to already have a plan, a very specific plan for what you will be doing during that time. You can't just show up at work an hour earlier and start thinking, okay, well, what are we going to do today? Okay, let's open LinkedIn. The hour is going to fly by so quickly. So what you want to do is plan ahead. So let's say maybe it's Sunday evening, you sit down and you look at that week and where you have the time blocked for job search, and you very explicitly dedicate each session to something very specific. So you know what you will be working on before you sit down. And I'll actually talk next about what your priorities overall should be when you are job searching and when you're planning your calendar. But ahead of time, plan this, because otherwise that hour will fly by and you won't achieve anything. And then you will start feeling very resentful that, hey, I'm getting up earlier, but I'm not really making much progress. You have to plan ahead of time what each day, each session essentially that's blocked off on your calendar is going to be dedicated to. Again, you can do this for yourself. We do this together with our clients when they join, so they know exactly what they're working on. But you have to plan ahead of time. And finally, I would love to talk about what your priorities, big picture, are when it comes to job search. And that's what I remind clients time and time again. When all fails, go back to these two priorities. When you are busy and other things are coming up, and maybe you're feeling like you can't stick to the plan, a more detailed plan that we've created together, that's what I remind them. They have two big priorities every single week, and they want to dedicate time to those two priorities when it comes to job search every single week. And those priorities are networking and interview prep and practice. Specifically with networking, their priority is always 2 to 5, depending on their schedule, how fast they want to go, whether they're working full time or not, but 2 to 5 networking meeting on their calendar every single week. For you, if you are working full time, it can look like one meeting on the calendar every single week, but it's a meeting with a senior executive, a decision maker at one of your target companies. But it's something that you work towards every single week. So on Sunday, when you sit down to plan your week and your activities and your output, you look at, okay, do I have one meeting scheduled this week? Okay, amazing. Who else do I need to reach out to so that I have a meeting next week? Who else do I need to follow up with who I've reached out last week so that I get more meetings on the calendar? So it's something that you prioritize every single week. So your new outreach, your follow-ups with people you've talked to before who told you they would make an introduction, actual meetings. So that is something that is on your calendar every single week. Now, when it comes to open roles, you can dedicate one of those days, not more, but one of those days to looking at open roles. But when you see an open role, your first instinct is, who do I need to reach out to? So that actually would always tie into your networking outreach and your networking goal for the week. And we started this episode by talking about setting very specific goals for yourself. So your goal can be one networking meeting every single week. With that, I probably need to be reaching out to 10 to 15 people within my target company every single week. Okay, let me break that down into the 3 days, that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where I have dedicated time to job search. Or maybe your outreach is just one day, whatever works for you, but you need to, again, that's how you have those specific concrete goals for each day and each week. Now, for example, one day, Thursday, can be your new outreach day. Wednesday is maybe your follow up day when you go back to previous conversations and your goal is to follow up with 15 previous people that you have reached out to the week prior. So it's something that, again, very specifically, you dedicate 20 minutes here, an hour here, but you know exactly what those goals are. So networking is your priority number one. And as I already said, your second priority is interview prep and practice. And that has to be on your calendar from the very beginning. And for our clients, it looks like in the very beginning, when they first join us, and maybe before they even have an interview, you've probably already heard me talk about this, they start interview prep and practice early. So they start working on their story bank, they start talking through their stories out loud, they start practicing with our AI tools, they start practicing with peers, they start practicing with a coach, but they dedicate time every single week to practicing those stories and doing mock interviews and refining and getting better. And typically in the beginning, when they're building out their pipeline, when they're starting their outreach, most of the time between those priorities, networking and interview prep and practice, most of the time would be dedicated to networking. And maybe there is one time a week where you have that hour specifically dedicated every single Tuesday morning to interview prep and practice. And it just stays like that. But then as you start getting more active, as you start seeing more traction, maybe that ratio of networking versus interview prep starts shifting. So now you're spending 3-4 hours on interview prep and practice and a little bit less time on networking. But bigger picture, those two things should always be planned for and on your calendar. So your networking, outreach, follow-ups, and your interview prep and practice. All right, that is how you calendar your time when you're job searching and working full time. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, it all makes sense, but I would love help on this journey, that's exactly what we do together with our clients. We not only create a plan for you, very detailed plan with goals and milestones and exactly what you will be working on every single week, but of course, you get all the support that you need in this journey. So you don't have to guess, well, how do I find people? How do I follow up? How do I prepare for those networking meetings so they actually lead to introductions and referrals and interviews? How do I start my interview prep and practice? Exactly what that looks like. Who do I practice with? So that's exactly what we do together with our clients. If that sounds like something you want to explore, I'm going to leave a link in the show notes for you to book a call with us and we can explore if this can be potentially a fit. That is it for today's episode. I will see you very soon.